Welcome to the city of Frost and Fire. You're going to discover the authentic stories of the extraordinary people who define our north of normal metro. I'm Conrad Fargo, and this is the Fargo Five. We've got Ebony Kunkle from the Colorful Cookie on today. Hello, Ebony.
Hey there.
So I just noticed this, even though I've known you for a minute here now. That's a lot of alliteration there. Kunkle from the Colorful Cookie. Is that on purpose?
No, I didn't even think about that when deciding on a name.
They say that K sounds are more friendly, right? Like our sounds are very, like from The Office is the joke. It's called murder, not muckduck. They say the K sound is very friendly. Do you find that, Ms. Kunkle, that people are very friendly to you with the K sound going on all the time?
I'm not sure if it has to do with the K sound, but people are very friendly.
I think maybe they're just reflecting back on you. You're such a nice person. I've known you're a nice person, a colorful person. So the Colorful Cookie. So was it meant to be alliterative that way, or?
No, so the reason behind the name was I started the business doing macarons, and as everybody knows, macarons are very colorful.
Okay.
And so the business name was centered around that.
Awesome. And so you came into Fargo, we were talking before the show, you're from Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
And you came here 5 years ago.
That's correct.
What prompted that move?
I was in the military for about 8 years.
Oh.
And after leaving the service,
I didn't know that. Wow. I've had a lot of military members. Like Eric Hill, military as well. Okay. So, you were in the military, and then keep going.
Yeah. After I got out of the military, I got divorced, and the person I was married to lived in North Dakota. So here I came.
Okay. So you were married and living here, and then divorced, and so now, or you came, I don't understand how that.
No,
how the
for
divorce.
Sure. So I was living in Washington State for about 8 years while I was in the military.
Okay.
And then, at a very ripe young age of 19, I got married.
Sure.
And
as you
fast forward 4 years, had a child. And, as things sometimes do, they didn't work out. And so we separated.
But you were living here when you separated?
I was living in Washington.
So I don't understand how the separation led to you living here. I'm sorry. What am I?
My child's dad is from
and
North Dakota.
you just want it because you guys share custody.
Correct.
I see. Okay, I didn't make that connection. That's got to be really difficult.
It is.
Okay, but you've been making it work for
10 years.
10 years.
Yep.
So your son, I think I've met him before. He's 10 years old.
He is.
And you've been in Fargo for 5.
Yep.
You're from Michigan, you moved to Washington, so you've been all around. What was there kind of a major culture shock moving to Fargo? When you first moved here, did you just get like a 1-bedroom apartment, or what did you do? What was the coming to Fargo like?
Coming to Fargo, I'd always been a little bit apprehensive about it because, outside looking in, Fargo, North Dakota doesn't seem too exciting from the outsider. But getting here, getting settled in, I actually really love it. It's one of my favorite places that I've actually lived.
What was the image? I think a lot of Fargo people would be interested in this. What was the image of Fargo as an outsider? Like before, when you're like, all right, I'm going to move to Fargo, like what were you picturing in your mind? What was your image of Fargo?
For sure. Well, a lot of my middle school and high school, I actually lived in Iowa. And so you would think that I would have a pretty good understanding of Fargo, North Dakota, but I still had those stereotypes, no traffic lights, just boring people. Yeah. But, just it's typical Midwest stereotypes that most people would have.
Well, I don't know what those typical stereotypes are. So just a lot of big empty space. And I mean, you go to a lot, there's plenty of towns without traffic lights. Fargo is the metro, that's what makes us kind of north of normal here. Yeah. So when you landed in Fargo, where did you choose to stay at first?
I've actually been in the same place the whole time.
Oh, really?
For 5 years.
Wow.
Picked a place, stuck with it. I'm over in South Fargo, down by Frank's Lounge. It's a very quick growing area.
Is it like a rental, or did you buy a house, or what did you?
I live in an apartment.
In an apartment building. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so what's apartment life like in Fargo compared to, did you live in an apartment where you were before? How's it compare?
No, this is the first time I'm living in an apartment, and so it's actually, I don't mind it at all. My building's only 2 stories, underground parking. It's got all the things I need.
Yeah,
so I like it. It's quiet over there.
So you don't have to go out and brave the cold.
I do not. That was mandatory.
And how does the cold compare to where you came from?
From Iowa, the cold is the same, but the wind is, that's what they always say. The wind is what gets you.
Well, it's very flat here.
Yeah.
It's very, very flat. Okay. And so you're living in Fargo. You were in the military. So did you have a job lined up for you, or what did you do for a job when you first landed here?
So when I first got here, when I got out of the military, I was living. So what was that?
2019, right? I'm trying to paint the picture. 2018. Okay.
That's when I got out.
We're moving on 7 years. You being here then. You said 5.
There was some in between in Fargo. So
okay.
I moved to Fargo 2019.
Okay. So I'm trying to paint the picture because COVID is right around the corner.
Yeah, it was right
so
there.
You get the apartment with the underground parking and you go and you get a job, or you had a job lined up? I'm sorry.
When I first moved here, I was actually working for Costco when I got out of the military.
Yeah.
So I went to Costco from Washington to Michigan to Fargo.
They kept you in Costco corporate.
Yes.
And then you were just kind of bouncing around.
That's correct.
Were you, what's it like? I don't even know what the positions are at Costco. It seems like a lot of them are kind of interchangeable, or is there like a very strict hierarchy?
No. You're an employee,
okay.
And then you have your supervisors.
But you can transfer easily enough. You can be like,
super easy.
You can be like, I'm moving to New Hampshire tomorrow, and they'll find you a job out in Costco.
As long as they have a spot for you, absolutely.
And are you still there today?
No, I'm currently doing the colorful cookie full time.
Full time. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. So how did that? So that's where I really want to lock in on is what was the first? So did you have a background in entrepreneurship, or where? So what was I want to paint the picture. So you're divorced. You're having your son part time. He's 5. COVID-19 is around the corner. You're working at Costco. And then what happens to plant the idea of, I'm going to make, and I always say macaron? How do you?
Macaron.
Macaron. Macron is
president.
the president of France. So I'm always messing that up. I'm going to mess it up the whole show. So sorry about the macarons. Anyway, the cookies. Where did that idea come from? Where did it start?
It floated around for a little bit, so I started experimenting with them in 2018 while I was living in Michigan, and they're a very hard cookie to make.
Okay.
And so they look very simple. They look very, why is this thing so expensive? But it's very time intensive. There's a lot of technique behind it, and so that's really what drew me to that cookie. And then moving to Fargo, I had a few different jobs. I actually got fired from Costco.
Really? After going state to state to state to state, the Fargo one was the one that did you in.
Yep,
was it you or was it them?
It was both of us. Their attendance policy is very strict. So when you move from one state to another, your 90-day probationary period starts over. And so I had no idea about the North Dakota winters, and I was about an hour late to work because my garage door froze to the ground, and they were just like, "I'm sorry, we gotta let you go." And I was like,
no.
That's fair. So,
yeah. Harsh are the standards up here in North Dakota. I think. I think we're pretty famous for it. Okay, and so you get let go.
Right.
You've got another job, or what?
Yes, I had a few different jobs before I started the colorful cookie. I went from there to document processing.
Oh.
And from document processing, I went to phlebotomy, and then from phlebotomy, I finally landed on the colorful cookie.
You're gonna make but you're working for people. The whole time you've been kind of perfecting your cookie recipe. There you go. I'll stop trying to say the name. Just cookie. You're perfecting the cookie recipe. When you were developing it in Michigan, were you like, I'm going to do this commercially and this is going to be my life? Was that, or when did the idea of I'm going to sell these? When did you conceive the idea?
It really wasn't conceived by me. It was more so like conceived by other people, and they just told me to do it.
They were like, you need to be selling these.
Correct.
Okay.
And so the idea really didn't come to fruition until about February 2023.
Oh, wow.
And then, so it's very recent.
Wow.
And so, and then I didn't actually...
No, hold on here. So January of 23, you're just making them. You don't have any idea that you're going to sell them at all.
January, nope.
Because it's now, where are we now? It's September of 24. So in 16 months, you've turned this thing into, no, wait, a little more than that. Anyway, in less than 2 years, this is your full time. This is supporting you full time.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a heck of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Okay, so tell me, tell me what happened in February of 23. What, you had friends or what happened?
So I was, like I said, I was doing phlebotomy, and I was terrible at it. And, it just, you can only stick so many people wrong before you're just like, this isn't for me. So, I was doing that, and I was like, I need to do something else. I was like, I'm not getting another job. I'm not, filling out another job application. That's just not for me. I'm not doing it. And so I was preparing for a wedding that one of my friends wanted me to make the cookies for. And she was like, the place that the wedding was being held, they required you to be a registered business. And they required, so I had to take the steps to...
Just for your friend?
Yep. I took the steps there to register
How did you end up making the cookies? Just you had made them for her as a friend, and she was like, oh my God, I need to have these for my wedding?
Yeah.
Like, it was just that simple.
I would just make them for her from time to time, and she was like, these are just so good. So then she wanted it.
And so it was the regulations of the hotel that kind of pushed you into having a license.
Yeah.
And then you were like, well, might as well.
Yeah. It wasn't really meant to be that way. And so I reached out to the moms group, and I was like, would anybody buy these? And so, because I did a lot of research in the area and found that there are only a couple establishments in Fargo that actually make them in-house. And a lot of people, they ship them in, or they're not made in-house. And so that's really where that started.
That is mind-blowing. I think a lot of people, so I mean, because I interview, on this show, people who start businesses, and often the story is like, oh, well, I've done it for years, or my mom and dad did it, or this is just so random that you've been doing it for so long. And here you are being very successful at it. You've got, you're doing it full time, and you've been expanding your menu recently, I think. You brought some eclairs. So what people may not know about your cookies, those macarons, is that they're gluten-free.
Yep.
Which I think you kind of heavily advertise on that. I don't know that you need to, because they don't taste like a gluten-free anything, but they are great because there's a lot of people with gluten sensitivities and who eat gluten-free, and that's fantastic. And so now you're branching out into more gluten-free products?
Correct. And so the way that I kind of tiered my business strategy was the first year, I was gluten-free, go gluten-free, everything. Yeah. And so the next step is catering to everyone. Yeah. And so not so much as saying that I'm going to start baking with gluten, just more so advertising that just because it's gluten-free doesn't mean that it's not for you. And so this is right now as I'm entering that next phase.
I can't believe it doesn't have gluten. Like that, I can't believe it's not butter, right? Like that. I don't know. That one's a freebie. You can take that one. That one's for free. And then, so that's really exciting. Coming up, you're going to be having the Aronia Berry Festival, and we're going to talk about that. So that'll be the next segment right after we take a break. So don't go nowhere.